Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the absolute invisible force that powers, well, literally everything around us. We're going to trace the incredible journey of electricity, starting from a single, tiny battery on a workbench, all the way up to the massive, power-hungry appliances running in your house right now. It is a fascinating journey of invisible charges, and I'm so excited to break the whole shebang down for you.
We've got a great map for our journey today. We'll start with the flow of electricity, then compare series versus parallel connections. After that, we'll look at simple everyday circuits, move on to controlling the current, talk about soldering and building, and finally, wrap up with household electrical appliances.
Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, the flow of electricity. So to get any light, heat, or power, you really just need two fundamental things. First, you need an electric source, like a battery, to actually push the energy. And second, you need a flow of charges traveling through a continuous, unbroken path. We call that path a closed circuit. Think of it like a racetrack. If there's a break anywhere in that loop, the magic just stops. Those charges absolutely need a complete track to run on.
That brings us perfectly to Section 2, series versus parallel connections.
Knowing we need a continuous loop is great for just one battery and one bulb, but what happens when we want more energy? Well, we basically have two main options here. First is a series connection, where the cells are lined up head to tail, so the negative terminal of one connects directly to the positive terminal of the next. Our other option is a parallel connection. In this setup, all the positive terminals are wired to one single point, and all the negative terminals are wired to another. Doing this completely changes how the energy behaves.
Now, the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the trade-off between these two. When you wire cells in a series, you're stacking their voltage. This gives you a massive boost in power, which means a much brighter light. But if you wire them in parallel, the total voltage stays the exact same as just a single cell. So instead of a brighter light, a parallel system lets the batteries share the load. The result? They supply a steady current for a much longer time. It's really about prioritizing either power or lifespan.
So, if wiring the batteries differently completely changes the power output, what do you think happens if we mess with how the bulbs themselves are wired? Seriously, what if we wire multiple bulbs side by side in a parallel circuit instead of lining them up in a single series?
The result is actually pretty surprising. You see, if you put multiple bulbs in a series loop, adding more bulbs makes all of them dimmer, because they basically have to share that voltage. But, unlike a series, wiring bulbs in parallel ensures they all maintain their full, brilliant glow. Every single bulb gets the full voltage of the source, no sharing required, meaning the brightness simply doesn't drop. Pretty cool, right?
Let's move right along to Section 3, simple everyday circuits. Let's look at a real-world example you probably have sitting in a kitchen drawer right now, the everyday flashlight, or electric torch. It relies on a super simple series circuit. Inside, the dry cells are stacked end-to-end to boost the voltage. When you push that switch on the outside, you're physically pushing a metal connector to close a tiny gap on the inside. Once that gap is closed, bam! The circuit is complete. The current flows right from the cells, through the metal spring at the back, along the connectors, straight into the bulb, and you've got light.
Next up is Section 4, controlling the current.
You know, we don't always want maximum power just flowing freely through our devices all the time. Sometimes we need to tame and carefully control that energy. And that brings us to the concept of resistance. Think of it as a deliberate obstacle to the flow of an electric current. While we use copper wire because it lets electricity flow super easily, sometimes we intentionally introduce materials with very high resistance, like nichrome or manganese wires. By throwing these obstacles into our circuit, we can actively throttle and control the exact amount of current flowing through it.
What's really fascinating here is the sheer variety of ways we can actually create that resistance. On one hand, we have permanent, fixed resistors. You literally just drop one of these into a circuit to set a permanent, specific limit on the current. But on the other hand, we have variable resistors and rheostats. These are a total game changer because they have adjustable dials or sliders. They let us change the resistance and therefore dial in the exact current we need completely on the fly.
Even more incredible, though, is the light-dependent resistor, or LDR for short. This little component acts almost like magic. It doesn't have a dial or a fixed value at all. Instead, it reacts to its environment. When light hits the surface of an LDR, its resistance naturally drops. And as the resistance drops, the electrical current flowing through it automatically goes up. It's just a brilliant way to make a circuit respond directly to the physical world around it.
All right, moving on to Section 5, soldering and building.
So, knowing the theory behind these components is great,
But how do you actually lock these pieces together so they don't just fall apart? Well, if you've ever tried to build a circuit using just adhesive tape, you know it's incredibly unreliable. The connections slip and the circuit breaks. So instead, we use a mechanical process called soldering. It's basically a 3-step process. You heat up a specialized tool using electricity. You use that intense heat to melt a special metal called soldering lead directly onto the circuit joints, and then you just let it cool. It permanently fuses the components together, giving you a perfect, unbreakable electrical path.
Now, a very quick safety note as you're applying that melted soldering lead. The tip of that soldering iron gets incredibly hot. I mean, hot enough to instantly melt metal. It can easily burn right through materials or your skin if it touches them. So it requires absolute focus and super careful handling anytime it's plugged in.
And finally, Section 6, Household Electrical Appliances.
We are scaling up the power now, moving from those tiny batteries on a workbench to the massive appliances powering your entire house. Household appliances run on a much higher standard voltage, typically 240 volts. But you know, just because you have that power available doesn't mean you should waste it. Selecting the right wattage for your specific need is so important. Matching the tool to the job directly reduces your electricity bill. For example, if you're just reading a book, you only need a 5 to 10 watt lamp, not a blazing ceiling light. Cooking rice for yourself? A 700-watt cooker is perfect. You literally only need the massive 2,000-watt cooker if you're feeding a huge crowd.
And this really brings us to efficiency. Technology has made some incredible leaps here. For instance, a modern 14-watt CFL bulb or an ultra-efficient 7-watt LED gives you the exact same brilliant intensity of light as an old, power-hungry 60-watt filament bulb. You're getting the exact same result while pulling an absolute fraction of the current through your home circuits. It's a total win-win.
Of course, mastering this everyday magic means we have to respect the sheer power of 240 volts. Safety is completely non-negotiable here. You've got to keep appliances far away from water taps and fire. Always inspect your connecting wires for fraying or damage before you plug them in. Make sure the appliance is actually rated for the voltage your home supplies, and never try to force a plug into the wrong socket.
Wow, we have covered a lot of ground today, right? From the flow of tiny charges to the heavy appliances in our kitchens. The next time you walk into a room and casually flip a switch, I want you to take just a second to think about the incredible, invisible journey of charges happening right in front of you. In fact, look around your room right now. What invisible circuits, hidden resistors, and silent currents are quietly working to power your life at this very moment?